Hi, it's Archie3. Shirley and I have been exploring the area around La Cueva in the Oregon Mountains of southern New Mexico. In this video, we study a bunch of large check dams, agricultural features, archaeological sites, and large boulder features covered in art. The checkdowns are down in a broad swell coming down from La Cueva. Satellite photos show that the entire landscape has been disturbed and striated. Every inch of this land was modified and engineered to make it more productive. These systems are evidence of state level agriculture with advanced planning, mapping, and an abundance of labor. These were not primitive subsistence farmers, they were empire builders with large populations. They were not just trying to survive off the land, they were masters of the land and could make deserts highly productive. As you watch this video, notice how every rock in the foreground and background forms a head or figure. Rocks in the check dams have been shaped and positioned to form heads, arms, legs, or hands. Even La Cueva and the mountains in the background look down at you. I believe that these boulder fields on top of the ridges are where the elite persons lived in tents, huts, and possibly teepees. The slaves and lower classes lived in dirt pits in the low areas, where all the check dams and processing sites are. The Aztecs say they were from Chichimeca, which is in this area of the southwestern United States and northern Mexico. Aztec history records that they were one of 7 tribes. I believe tribes were different ethnographic and cultural groups. In other words, of different races and from all over the world. The Romans, Mongols, and other empires were known to have consisted of various tribes working together. The Vikings said that they were Aztec. We also know now that there are different ethnic groups living as Vikings. This means DNA cannot be used to identify these empire building peoples. In other words, these tribes are not all one people from one place, such as the Middle East. All this known history referring to these tribes is ignored by archaeologists and even ridiculed as some type of fantasy. Even later Western historical accounts of these tribes are dismissed. Around the time of Christ, it was recorded that these tribes that were run out of the Middle East around 800 BC had spread far and wide and become too numerous to count. These people were descendants of the Sumerian Empire, which had been taken over by the Akkadians. So, if you study the Akkadians, you see that they were much like the Aztecs in their beliefs. If you are an archaeologist and you mention the word tribes, you will be ostracized by your peers. These are people that refer to themselves as scientists, but they act more like they're in a cult. Every bit of evidence showing that their version of prehistory might be wrong is dismissed as fakery or forgery, or the hallucinations of a crazy person that is seeing things that are natural, historic, or not there at all. In future videos, I'll show you these boulder features that are all on the slope of the Oregon Mountains and how they all form heads and figures. And from above, it all just looks like a giant stone mosaic. And these big rocks or boulder features look like heads even from above. Archaeologists think of ancient people as being weak and mouse-like, at the mercy of nature instead of creating their own environments. These people laid out the roads, built the river valleys, our mountains, and the coastlines, and they created art out of it all. Incredible as that sounds, it will prove to be true when modern humans realize that the patterns around them are not natural. These groups of tribes formed very advanced civilizations, and thinking they couldn't sell around the world is idiotic. We need to think of oceans as giant highways for these ancient peoples instead of barriers to movement. Because of a lack of critical thinking, both archaeologists and geologists have just accepted that everything is natural and that people lived within this natural system. But the truth appears to be the opposite, that people created the landscapes and environments we live in today, including the plants and animals. Do archaeologists even understand the human spirit and mentality? People conquer, enslave, and gather wealth. They don't just survive.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?